استقالة الحكومة.
الاستقالة كان ينبغي أن تحصل منذ زمن طويل.
ماذا عن آلاف الخبراء الروس والإيرانيين ومقاتلي حزب الله؟
Good afternoon. It is Thursday, March 28th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Sulaiman holds talks with now caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati at the Babda Palace as he assigns a date for parliamentary consultations. The group behind the weekend abduction of a Lebanese clan member in the east of the country is demanding a $1 million ransom for his release. And fresh battle rages on in Syria, flashpoint districts on the outskirts of Damascus. Activists say army tanks are pounding insurgent enclaves near the capital. President Michel Sulaiman held talks with now caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati at the Babda Palace today. Political sources told the Daily Star earlier that the president's return from Doha, where he attended the Arab League summit, is expected to give momentum to the discussions. Sulaiman reportedly set April 5th and 6th as the dates for launching binding parliamentary consultations for the naming of a prime minister designate who would form a new cabinet. According to the sources, the president believes nominating a prime minister will be a task far easier than forming a government, hence the need for national dialogue. The sources also said that Mikati stands a good chance of being nominated once again. Meanwhile, March 8 and March 14 coalitions are intensifying consultations within their respective camps in a bid to consolidate their stances ahead of the nomination. The group behind the weekend abduction of a Lebanese clan member in the east of the country is demanding a $1 million ransom for his release. Hussein Kamal Jafar, who was abducted late on Saturday night on the outskirts of the Bekaa Valley town of Arsail, contacted his relatives and told them his abductors wanted a $1 million ransom to release him. The hostage is reportedly being held in Syria near the border with Lebanon. Jafar's kidnapping triggered a series of counter-abductions carried out by his family and strained ties between the notorious Shia Jafar clan and their Sunni neighbors. The Jafar clan held a meeting to examine the request of the kidnappers, rumored to be linked to the armed Syrian opposition, and decide on responding to their demand. Bulgaria's caretaker Prime Minister Marin Rykov has said Sofia will provide more evidence that Hezbollah planned a deadly attack on Israeli tourists last year to convince European Union countries to put the party on its terror list. Rykov said on a visit to NATO headquarters in Brussels on Wednesday that some EU countries were not sufficiently convinced by Bulgaria's evidence that Hezbollah was behind the July 18 bus attack in the Black Sea resort of Burgas. The attack left 5 Israelis dead. The blast also killed the Bulgarian driver and the suspected bomber, a tall and lanky, pale-skinned man wearing a baseball cap and dressed like a tourist. Adding Hezbollah to the EU list of terrorist organizations would require a unanimous decision by the foreign ministers of the 27 EU countries. Caretaker Interior Minister Marwan Sharbil revealed that the postponement of the upcoming parliamentary elections is an inevitable thing. Several obstacles will hinder carrying the polls on time. Sharbil said in the comments published in Al Liwa newspaper that he will hand over to Speaker Nabih Berri and Mikati a memo this Monday to inform them about the matter. He pointed out that several factors, including the failure to provide his ministry with the required funds to cover the expenses of holding the polls and to form the independent authority overseeing the elections, are the main hindrances obstructing the process. According to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, fierce battles break out at dawn on Thursday, pitting rebels against troops in the northeastern district of Kabul, while tanks shelled the neighborhood's edges. This comes as a mortar attack on Damascus University killed and wounded several people. Syrian state television reported, blaming the rebels. Rebels have this week escalated mortar attacks on central Damascus, including Umayyad Square in the heart of the capital, which houses the state television headquarters. Turkey has sent hundreds of refugees back to Syria after clashes with Turkish military police at their camp near the border in a protest over living conditions, officials say, the first such mass deportation since the conflict began. Refugees threw rocks at military police who fired tear gas and water cannon in the unrest in the Süleymaniyye camp near the Turkish town of Akakle on Wednesday. But a Turkish government official in the capital, Ankara, denied the Syrians had been deported, saying this would be contrary to the rules Turkey has set for temporarily sheltering Syrians fleeing the country's civil war. Camps in Turkey, for the most part, have facilities such as electric heaters to protect against freezing temperatures, and refugees receive 3 hot meals a day, better conditions than in camps in some of Syria's other neighbors. Coming up next, we take a look at South Korea and the United States and what's happening over there. Stay with us. Welcome back. Israel fully reopened its border crossings with the Gaza Strip that were closed following militant rocket fire during President Barack Obama's visit to the region last week. Hours before the U.S. leader visited the West Bank, Palestinian militants fired 2 rockets from Gaza into a southern Israeli city, causing damage but no injuries. The attack prompted Israel to close its only border crossing for commercial goods with the coastal territory and to restrict its only civilian crossing to humanitarian cases only. It has also limited the stretch of the sea where Gaza fishermen were also allowed to fish. The Israeli military said it has now reopened the commercial crossing and is allowing Palestinians with entry permits to cross into Israel through the civilian crossing, but the fishing restrictions are still in place. Pakistan accuses Afghanistan of overreacting after Kabul canceled a military visit to protest against cross-border firing in the latest sign of worsening relations. The Pakistani army invited 11 Afghan officers to take part in a military exercise in the southwestern city of Quetta, but the Afghani government called their visit off because of what they claimed were unacceptable Pakistani artillery shelling.
There was some intrusion from the Afghan side to which our troops responded. But they responded in a very disciplined manner and in a very responsible manner. There was no artillery shelling from Pakistan side, no artillery shelling. Even in our response, we were very modest because it was an intrusion from their side. Nevertheless, we think that it's an overreaction to cancel participation by the delegations in that training course. We think that such courses, such activities are meant to build trust, to build confidence, to promote relations between the countries, and should be continued. We do hope that both countries will not lose any opportunity to promote peace between our countries.
Now for news around the world in brief. Former South African President Nelson Mandela has been admitted to a hospital with a recurring lung infection once again. According to South Africa's government, Mandela, who is 94 years old, has become increasingly frail in recent years, has been admitted to hospital several times since last year, most recently earlier this month when he received what a presidential spokesman described as a successful medical test. Pope Francis urges Catholic priests to go out among the poor and suffering in peripheral neighborhoods and the countryside and not be concerned about their careers as managers. Francis' homily at his first Holy Thursday service as Roman Catholic leader was the latest indication since his surprise election 2 weeks ago that he wants the 1.2 billion member church to be closer to the poor. Cypriot banks reopened with tight controls imposed on transactions to prevent a run on deposits after the government was forced to accept a stringent EU rescue package to prevent the country from going bankrupt. Customers queued up in Nicosia to access their cash when the banks opened their doors at midday. Banks were shut almost 2 weeks ago as the government negotiated a €10 billion or $13 billion bailout package, the first in Europe's single currency zone to impose losses on bank depositors. The United States deploys 2 nuclear-capable stealth bombers over South Korea as part of a deterrence mission over the Korean peninsula. The deployment of B-2 bombers followed North Korea's decision to cut a military hotline with the South, breaking the last direct communication link between the two countries at a time of heightened military tensions. The bombers made the 20,000-kilometer round trip from the U.S. state of Missouri to South Korea in a single flight. Speaking of flights, a new TV documentary has been given rare access to Prince William at work. The BBC's Helicopter Rescue is the first ever program to show the prince's working life in the Royal Air Force as a search and rescue pilot at RAF Valley on Anglesey. One of the rescuers featured shows Flight Lieutenant Wales, as he's known in the force, and his crew on a mission to rescue a boy who had fallen off a railway bridge onto rocks in a local old stale quarry. The United States and Japan are leading a rebound in advanced economies, while the still fragile Eurozone needs an interest rate cut to ensure a recovery takes hold. This is according to the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development.
It is an outlook which points at an improvement of the global economy, especially in the United States and Japan, a bit less so in the euro area. In the euro area, Germany is growing at a healthy rate, above 2%, which is good news. But France, which is the second largest economy, will not be growing possibly at all in 2013 and possibly start growing again in the latter part of this year. And Italy continues to be in recession, although this recession is shrinking, which means that Italy might see positive growth at the end of 2013. But there is underlying improvements in terms of fiscal consolidation making progress and competitiveness improving significantly in the periphery, which means that the basic imbalances of the euro crisis are being addressed.
United States President Barack Obama spoke about a variety of issues such as immigration reform, border security, and gay marriage in an interview with Spanish-language news station Univision. He said there has been enormous progress in securing the border, but more can be done. Obama also spoke about immigration reform, and as the White House pressures Congress to strike an immigration deal, he said he is confident he will have an immigration bill.
The fact is that we've made enormous progress in securing the border. We've put unprecedented resources on the borders. We know that the number of undocumented workers coming over the border is at the lowest levels in 40 years. I think we all recognize that we can make more progress. There are certain parts of the border that continue to have particular problems. And Senator McCain and the others, I think, have recognize that whereas we've made progress in some places, there's still some areas where we can do better. All of us, I think, believe it's important to make sure that employers who hire undocumented workers knowingly, that they are penalized and that we have a better verification system. So the legislation that I think they are crafting will undoubtedly address increased improvements in the border security system, but there's no doubt that we've improved the border security system substantially, and what's also true is that given the size of the border, it's never going to be 110% perfect. But what we can do is continue to improve it, and at the same time provide a clear pathway for those who are already here and who've invested their lives here, many of them with American-born children, that they have an opportunity to earn their way. A difficult path, but a certain path towards citizenship.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Sulaiman holds talks with now caretaker Prime Minister Najib Mikati at the Babda Palace as he assigns a date for parliamentary consultations. The group behind the weekend abduction of a Lebanese clan member in the east of the country is demanding a $1 million ransom for his release. And fresh battles rage on in Flashpoint districts on the outskirts of Damascus, activists say, while army tanks pound insurgent enclaves near the Syrian capital. Those are your Thursday headlines live on Future Television. Stay tuned tomorrow for a debut by Linda Tamim, and we'll see you then.
أعلن استقالة الحكومة.
الاستقالة كان ينبغي أن تحصل منذ زمن طويل.
ماذا عن آلاف الخبراء الروس والإيرانيين ومقاتلي حزب الله؟